Hey, happy Tuesday to you. I know I haven't been around much out there. Been busy with my work on the ground, and I just wanted to really speak to how we build trust and be assertive, calm leaders, and really rise strong in a time at the moment when I kind of do tap into the worldwide chaos and destruction that's going on right here, both naturally and what's to do with a lot of our own making. Hi, welcome to the conversation. I want to try and keep these shorter today, but I want to speak to how to build trust and how we can start looking at extremes and exceptions. I love Viktor Frankl's work on how we actually survive times of great chaos and trauma that's going on right now, and return to trust, because trust is kind of like marbles. I wanted to speak to that, and also how we can slowly return to trust when it looks like the whole world is breaking down. It has to break down. We have to go into the shadows. We have to look at the space in between, as Viktor Frankl calls it, between stimulus and response. And I want to read this to you because I can't remember how he actually says it. I don't want to bastardize it. But he says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And I think this is something that is a little chaotic right now, is how do we choose to live free in a time when everything looks like there is no freedom? Hi, Terry. Yeah, nice to see you here. Hi, Petrus. So please join the conversation and tell me what you know about how to return to trust. There's just so much going on right now, and so much I want to speak to, that I've kind of been quiet and percolating on it before I kind of showed up. But here I am showing up imperfectly perfect to look at how do we return to trust? How do we start to trust our bodies again, to know what's best for your growth? And a question that I've been asking lately is also, before I do anything, whether it's food, whether it is an action outside, whether it is in regards to how I'm raising and growing my daughter, whatever it is, I'm asking myself this question. You might want to write it down, because I'd love to know how it feels for you when you go into this intentional creativity. And the question is, in that moment that you, before you do the action or before you respond to that stimulus, is to ask yourself, is this the most loving space that I can be for my life and for my body? And notice what happens. I have a friend that wanted to give up smoking, and she said, help me give up smoking. And I said, what if it isn't about giving anything up? What if it's about becoming aligned with the truth of, is this the most loving thing that you can do for your body in this moment? And she said within 2 weeks, she suddenly realized that her soul's knowing, her wise woman inside, and her head, and all the addictions and reasons and justifications why she was smoking, didn't match up. It was not the most loving thing that she could be doing for her body. So try it. Try asking that question, and look at how you start to trust your body knows what's best for its growth and for its healing. Because that's the way that we really start to evolve out loud. You know, inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. So give me some hearts or thumbs if this is making sense for you, or if this is even worth hanging around for this conversation. Because this is always what I ask, especially with the animals, is, are you with me? Do we have a conversation? Before I even start talking or speaking at my daughter or barking instructions, there's always this invitation, there's always this permission. And I'm really on a mission to help people and animals to return to trust no matter what trauma they've survived. Yesterday I was going to see some horse clients of mine, and blow me over, end of the month, very predictable. The metro cops were on the side of the road, slowing everything down, and I got pulled over, and I thought, oh crap, you know that feeling where you haven't even done anything wrong yet, but you're always saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to be punished, what have I done wrong? And that voice started up in my head, and the guy said to me, your license is expired, I'm going to have to write you a ticket, 1,000 Rand. And I went, oh gosh, how did I let that happen? how did I actually not know that the license had expired? And I saw myself going into that sort of freeze response. That was sort of that in-between space of either I just accept it and take the ticket, or I could go into fight flight and get really aggressive, which is our natural response to fear of doing things wrong or getting into trouble or our life being threatened. And living in South Africa, that is a very real threat when you get pulled over by the metro cops. And then I recognized in that moment that I had to bring myself down and calm myself down. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Jennifer. And look at where I was going out of trust, where I wasn't trusting myself to know that I had energetic support, that the universe was going to get me out of the situation, even if it meant me paying the fine. So I don't even know what happened. It was that quick. I just returned to being calm and present. I lowered my barriers, and I asked a question, and he let me go without a warning, with a warning, without having to pay the fine. And I think this brings me back to this part of that when you are hyper aroused, when you are high in that fear response, you only have two choices. You either go straight into fight flight, which animals show us all the time. They really show us their feelings, what they're feeling in the moment. And we misinterpret that as aggression when it's maybe a fearful dog, or turning away or not listening to us as being a disobedient dog, rather than a dog that's shy, and actually asking, okay, what's really going on under here? And asking if we can change the conversation or the dialogue. It's not about going straight into trusting that the dog is just going to be that like that for the rest of the year, or the rest of its life, or the rest of whatever is going on. But really looking at, what is it with children and animals, dogs and even horses? They're intrinsically don't trust about people. And we see it as something against us, or our ego wants to be right, or we want to prove a point when there's nothing to prove and there's nothing to hide. So I want to look at this thing around why it is that intrinsically the innocents, the ones that are still living in the feeling space, that haven't gone into head tripping yet or been programmed out of it, which is the hyper arousal and the shutdown and the learned helplessness, and that space of obedience, which is like, I don't have a choice in this, is that animals and children don't trust innately emotionally unstable adults or humans. So for a dog, again, I'm going to go back to the dog example. Their association with an emotionally unstable human is that they have to take the lead, because they can't trust you to meet their needs or keep them safe. So if your dog is neurotic, it's got nothing to do with your dog and everything to do with you. And this is what I love about the trust process for people, is that in our wanting to support and heal and help our animals, we have to return to trusting ourselves first and taking responsibility for that. So if your dog is neurotic, or it's jumping all over the place, or it's licking your face, or you have a horse that's pushing you around and being needy, whatever it is, it may be demonstrating a whole range of different behaviors. And I saw 2 schnauzers on the weekend that are starting to pee in the house, and that was seen as like, that's not acceptable behavior. Hi, Brian. Hi, Ulrika. Fix it. Fix the dog. And I think this is the, I don't know what the point of today is, other than to being a verbal processor. Thank you for being here so that I get to work this out for myself. But look at yourself in that situation, and you will find, if you can get your response down to a place where your learning goes up. Adrenaline's up, you don't learn. Doesn't matter what species you are. If you're on high, if you're in fight, flight, freeze, learning goes down. And then you have to make it personal. You know, it's just like, I know that so many people say nothing is personal. Don't take anything personally. Yes and no. But we have to own that accountability. We have to look at, where am I not taking responsibility for whatever is being presented to us in that cause and effect, or in that place that Viktor Frankl talks of as between stimulus and response. And hold ourselves there, bring ourselves down, create calm, present, meantime, now, and then start to look at, are those mirror neurons actually presenting me with exactly what I need to know right now. This is why we're animals that share our space. Domestic animals are just such a gift, because their mirroring of our responses, including our own health challenges, is often, they'll take it on for us to actually get it. And, you know, if in the case of these dogs that were now peeing in the house, there is no quick fix, because we have to get to the root of what is creating this anxiety, this release in the first place. And sometimes it takes patience, it takes persistence, it takes a constant state of congruence, of being attuned to that animal and having the compassion to stay present. You know, so many times when I teach the trust process, just before you're about to see a change in the behavior or a change in the tension in the body, people go, I can't do this, it's not working. It's the same with animal communication. We give up just at that point that it's going to change. So if you're taking your dog, for example, for a walk, it should be calm and relaxed by your side, calm and relaxed. We're going for a walk. It doesn't matter what's going on in the environment. You are together in that present moment of walking. Everything else outside doesn't exist. So if your dog is highly strung and it's pulling on the lead, know where do you need to get yourself into check, because it's mirroring back your lack of presence, or that you're anxious, or you're not congruent by the tension on the lead. This is where the invisible lead is so powerful. Much more powerful than a lead, right? Because there's no control. It's a collaboration. Hi, Dahlia. Between you and the dog, or you and the horse, or you and your cat. It doesn't take high energy. We've got to stay calm and present so that we can actually say, trust me, we're going for a walk. I've got this. Let's enjoy the walk. So it's the same when you're building teams. When I work with business owners that have team, they always come to me and they say, you know what? I've got a problem with my team. Can you train my team? And I go, no. Are you with your team? How can you build trust? Remind your team of their unique gifts and talents. This is what lions in the pride have taught me about teamwork, is that everyone plays their part. So when you start to ask your team how they would contribute to growing the business, or contributing to the health of the pack, or the longevity of the project that you're working on, then you can support yourself from a space of really feeling the energy underneath the imminent problem, or the thing that you're trying to fix, just like the dog peeing in the house, or the horse that's pushing you around. And get really present with what's underneath all of that. Is this making sense? I hope so. Type in your questions or answers, or whatever, your comments. I'd love to know what you feel about this conversation. Hi, Joanne. So how do you lead? Let me try this again. How you lead yourself from a place of trust is going to reflect in the response that you get in cooperation and collaboration. That is what leadership is. And people don't follow a confused mind. It's not safe to follow somebody that doesn't know where they're going, or who isn't clear in their communication. Hi, Joanne. Nice to see you here. So if your team, whether that's your family pack, whether that is your business team, whether that is whatever it is for you. Just think of team as herd in the pack mentality of each one playing its part. If your team isn't aligned with the safety and the vision and the big picture that you hold for the company, if they're all wandering around and going in circles looking for a place to drop their mother load of creative genius, and you're chomping on the bit and you're getting more and more irritable and intolerant, and you start screaming and you're frustrated, could you just come back to being peaceful and seeing what the trigger is? Because I guarantee 99% of the people that work with me, whether that's for their personal changes that they're wanting, or to grow their businesses in a different conscious way, right relationship starts with you having that conversation and changing your internal dialogue with the part of you that doesn't trust that you've got it. And normally it's your pre-6-year-old, right? The one that's actually been looking for and maybe didn't have the safety or couldn't trust that the environment that you were in is going to keep you safe when you couldn't fight or you couldn't flee. So, for the most part, if you have any kind of resistance or trigger coming toward you and it's pushing your buttons, that's a reflection back at you of your own emotional instability and your own irrational fear, because there's something that needs to be resolved from your pre-6-year-old. And humans by nature, they're not going to trust people who don't know what they want. Animals will not trust people who don't know what they want, because to our nervous system, it feels dangerous. And well, you're going to kind of feel like the crab in the pot that's being pulled down into the boiling water to your imminent death, or you let go and you climb out to safety. So this is really, really what I wanted to speak to today in regards to, hi Sophia, whether this is your relationship with other people, your relationship with your animals, with your team, whatever it is. How are you leading from a place that is the most loving, kind environment, not just for you, but for the people that are around you? People, animals and people will never trust anyone that is emotionally high or all over the place, because it's unpredictable. And we're always looking for predictability. Maslow's theory is always, if your basic essentials are not taken care of, your safety is not taken care of, there is no learning, there is no growth. And we want to be growing in this time when we're really being asked to look at the macrocosm of our microcosm, what's going on in the world around us, as where we need to really strengthen into our internal landscape and look at where do we need to tend our gardens from a more loving place, and trust whatever that energetic nudges or that body nudge is telling you, and follow through, right? That's the incongruence. Somebody asked that question the other day, is what is it that people don't do what they say? This is part of one of the foundations of the trust process, is that you need to be who you're going to be and do what you say you're going to do. Not go into this confusing place that makes people around you feel unsafe. Hi, Anjana. Hi, Karen. Making sense? You might want to go back and listen to this conversation. I think I'm going to close up here. So just remember, animals and children are going to see unstable adults as threatening. And if you turn that inward, your child parts are not going to be with you. And you're not going to be able to identify and acknowledge what you're afraid of or what you're not trusting if you do not have these conversations with your child parts to be the safety, to do the mothering, to do the fathering, to be the reliable, dependable person that you are. And I hear my daughter's voice, saying, "You don't believe me." So often, because I'm going and projecting my fear of her actions as being something against herself, when actually the kindest thing that I could do is to let her live in a mess, instead of telling her that she's untidy. but letting her live in that until she decides to change it. As long as it doesn't spew out into my space, what does it matter? It's not personal. It's just different to all the places that I get triggered about, that if I have a messy environment, I have a messy mind, and vice versa. So in order to lead our lives to a place of calm, present nowness, if that's even a word, we've got to be present and calm and assertive and know where we're leading ourselves. I mean, can you imagine if you kind of went up to one of your team members, and if they did something that wasn't according to your standards or wrong, that you walked up to them and gave them a smack? And we do this to our children. I'm going into low power mode, but you know, can you imagine? They'd be like, what the hell just happened? Are you kidding me? Do it again. Do it again. There's the provocation. Like I had that choice with the Metro cop to either provoke it and get all angry and pissy, when actually at the end of the day the license had expired. So how do you take accountability from coming down into a calm, present moment and asking generative questions that could totally change the situation? It's amazing how quickly things can change. Animals show me this all the time. So it's really important that you understand that in order to lead, right, you have to feel first. 10% the language stuff doesn't matter. All our communication of am I safe is nonverbal. 90% of that comes from a feeling state that becomes a thinking state, that becomes an emotion of how we respond to what's coming up. Meditation helps you for that, Joanne? Yeah, absolutely. And it's so beautiful when you can take that one step further into turning the meditation into futuring. So actually seeing your future as if it's already happened, because your mind can then go out, just like I said earlier. It's like with the woman that was wanting to stop smoking. Hi, Elena. Is actually creating a statement from the question of, this is the most loving thing that I am doing for my body in this moment, because your mind will see the incongruence in the mirroring, right? In these mirror neurons, that what you're actually doing or choosing isn't attuned to your body's or your life's greatest, highest good, or your business. I know it's flooding in Houston. You know, these weather patterns are just so incredible, again, as in showing us too. And what I got from this was interesting, the little bit of footage I saw about what the floods in Texas, and we've just had these huge fires in Neisner, where it's just like totally devastated the landscape, and people have lost their homes. That there's a lot of victimology in it that's taken us so far out of our true nature to look at where we're out of harmony with nature. And I also noticed that I didn't see much footage of where are all the animals, what's happened to all the animals in all of this, because we've created the going against nature in a way that we need to take accountability and responsibility for making different choices. You know, if you push a whole lot of water through a little narrow ravine, it's going to burst its banks. It has nowhere else to go. So kind of like what I was saying earlier about trust being like marbles that you add slowly to a jar over time. It's the slow and steady return to trust, and we actually don't have time to do that. Yeah, I see a lot of animal rescue going on, because they're just these sort of innocent victims of our going against nature, really. So I'm sending lots of prayers out to the animals as well, to really look at how can I make more responsible choices. You know, this is the global warming, this is all these other things where so many species are going extinct because of our unpredictability, I want to say unwillingness, but it's so subconscious that sometimes we don't see the micro of the choices that we're creating in our lives as part of this bigger sort of virus that's spreading all over the planet, that's all about destruction rather than stewardship. But I digress a little bit off the topic today. So, oh, excuse me. So just know, it's just like I invite you today to look at, where are you holding tension in your body? 2 friends out rescuing horses. Oh, thank you, thank you. That's amazing. I'm so grateful for the people that are on the ground that are doing these great acts of kindness and gratitude. And I think gratitude is another one of those things where it's like appreciation is different to gratitude. So I'd rather say I deeply appreciate the people that are out there doing the tough work of getting these animals to safety. It's just amazing how, when we're in times of big disasters like this, whether they're natural or man-made, it really gives us back that sense of trusting that the universe does have our back, that we can trust other people, that we can trust in life, that this is just another beautiful energetic nudge to start making little changes in our lives. So, look at where you're holding tension in your body. Look at where you're constantly pulling on your own lead, and what you're willing to start unlearning. If you're teaching, and I'll use the dog example again, if you're teaching the dog to resist you by pulling on the lead, or, really being hard on your horse's mouth, or trying to hold your cat when it doesn't want to be with you because your energy is too intense, what are you teaching yourself in that moment? That you have to have control over something. So this idea of walking on an invisible lead is really teaching yourself to be your own guide. I spoke about this in my blog yesterday, of being unbridled, trusting that there is a version of control, and then there is a choice of how you get to respond, which are 2 totally different things. So how can you develop enough trust with yourself, with your children, with your animals, with everything else, that you're with them? I love that question. It's like, are you with me? Do we have a conversation? Do we have open dialogue without trying to fix or to change or to control? And this is where so many clients, I saw a client this morning that really was feeling very resentful and very angry because she felt like she was being used to some extent. Instead of looking at, where have I set this up as a place of being the martyr or the giver, and not receiving support because you're too afraid to ask for help. So if you can relate to that, this is where that invisible lead with people and animals is so much more than trying to control or restrain or contain things like that, bursting the banks and the flooding that comes in. That's what happens to our nervous system when we flood it with too much arousal, too much at once. So if there are people in your life that you don't trust you, or your animals don't trust you because your cat walks away, or your dog doesn't come when you call it, or your horse is pushing you around, or it's checking out, or your kids are checking out, and you see this sort of obedience, there's a looking for you in that to just stop talking, stop thinking, and go into feeling, so that you can hear what is required of you. Same for your body. Same for your body. So when you start to come back to that, to the felt sense, then you've got a conversation. Hi, Edlyn. Hi, Jason. It's great to see you all here. So stop looking for the right thing to do. It doesn't matter who you're engaging with. Stop speaking, because no one can hear you anyway. And this is what we do in the internal dialogue too. So every time you're out, your body's going to give you a little nudge when you're out of alignment, when you're out of congruence with your heart's knowing, with your wise inner being. So every time, if you're out for a walk with your dog and it's pulling on the lead, or it's trying to walk in front of you, come back to being calm and present in the moment. And so can we walk together? Okay? If I walk here, the dog's going to know that it doesn't get that little nudge. Same as your body. Nancy Kane. Hello, sweetheart. Hi, Jason. All right. So I know I've been using a lot of analogies today, but I really wanted to just look at inviting you into looking at how can you lead from a place of confidence, of internal confidence that you've got this, that what you're doing is in the most loving position for you and your body and your animals and the other people in your life to know, I'm enough. Stop trying to herd kittens, right? Stop going after the calm, the bright, shiny stuff. We are all looking for calm, assertive leadership. So we need to lead our own lives from a place of compassion and trust and patience, like you would a little child or a puppy. Yeah, the trust. Without the trust, Elena, there's nothing, is there? Nothing else works. This is where we see change for a little bit, and then it goes back to the default pattern of I don't trust myself, or I can't trust people. Or you see, we're looking for the proof and the evidentiary contrivances all the time to tell us why we can't trust our intuition. And this has been life-changing for me, and this is where I'm so grateful, Jody Friedman, to have so many amazing animals in my life, whether they're wild or domestic. Animals are always present in the feeling. And if you just tune into the subtleties of the non-verbal communications, everything starts to change. And it's the same with team. Okay, it says low battery. We need to be aligned to a common target, and we can't do it alone. This is the cooperation. And like kids or any pack or herd or group, we have to be flexible in our boundaries. We have to be asking for exactly what we want. So put exact into your questions. Exactly what is it that you need from me? And then you get to choose whether you're going to move toward it or move away. That's the no, not today. That's the time out. That's the safety that we create when we're being in truth, when we're in truth with what we say and how we respond. And that's really what it is. The present moment, that calm, assertive direction is always going to give you a win-win. And that is your true nature. So that's it. How can we lead by being our own most trusty companion and trusting that our bodies know what they need to do and get out of the way? So that's my message for you this Tuesday. I hope that it is a beautiful one wherever you are. May we just keep looking into the light and being the lighthouse for a new world where we start making different choices. You know, it's really what I want, and we can't turn away from this anymore. Right? This is the year of the cockerel. We've been told, wake up, wake up. The suffering is optional, and we don't have to be grateful for the pain. We don't have to forgive things if we're not ready to forgive. We can embrace the pain as a pathway, but we don't have to stay in pain in order to get this. Let's change that, and tell me how we can contribute to that in trusting cooperation and collaboration, that you don't have to carry all of this yourself. Hello, Verona. All right, I'm going to go. My battery's about to die. Post your comments. Give me some feedback. Let me know if this has been helpful, and if you'd like more of these conversations. I'm here to serve. And remember that question. This is the most loving position that I'm taking right now in the moment. Is this the most loving position or action that I can take for the greater good of my life, my body, and the collective? And see what your body tells you in response to that. All right. Lots of love. Bye.